Mind is here to help you to understand English, French, and the immigration process. As a start, so we have to learn the lexical approach. Lexical approach is a way to see the language as a group of different words together, which are there to convey the message, to speak or to listen, using the most common pronunciation to hear or to be heard in order to have the communication in place. In other words, lexical approach is a way to learn a different language faster and with more precision. After this is just to tune in your personal way of using the new language. Learning phases. We have the formulas to learn. There will be the formulas that will repeat them all together during the conversation. And we have the pronunciation of the individual words, as we have the pronunciation or the musicality of the sentences. So the only way to know this, to remember this, is to repeat the formulas, to repeat the pronunciation of words or the sound of words, to repeat the pronunciation of sentences or the musicality of the sentences. So here we have the four skills that we have to master: reading, writing, speaking, listening. Reading will give us the capacity to interpret the text, to interpret the discourse. We have the capacity to roll the interpretation. Writing. So if we master this skill, writing, so we have the capacity to remember which letter goes in each word. So we have the capacity of spelling the words. And speaking, we have to remember to know the pronunciation of the words, individual words, in order to pronounce that, to repeat that ourselves. And listening. So we have to identify the different sounds, in spite of the fact that they may be similar, quite similar words, but slightly different sounds. There will be lots of words like this in English and French. So, to represent the learning process, we have this solid, this tetrahedron. The tetrahedron is composed by four vertices, and there will be an internal side or a center. The vertices will have the four skills of our communication, and the communication will be at the center. So we have inner vertices: reading, listening, writing, and speaking. And in the center we'll have the communication. So the quality of the communication will be directly proportional to the master, how we master the skills, the how good we are pronouncing or using the skills. So this is another way to represent that. So we have the communication in the center, and looking at the four faces of the solid, we have a ternary graph. This kind of ternary graph, this kind of graph with three axes. So we have the individual abilities that will be proportional to affect the communication, the quality of communication. So the quality of communication will be far away from the vertices as long as we have a different capacity to use that specific skill. So we have this for the different qualities, the different skills, and we have to learn lexical approach to be able to recognize the three most important elements in the phrase. A subject, that will be the executor, who or what performs an action, the action or the verb that was performed, and the complement that will represent who or what receives the action. The building blocks, we have the subject, the action, and the complement. So that will be the SAC. And in the middle, sometimes, not all the time, but in the middle, between action and complement, we may or may not have the preposition. Who determines that is the verb itself. And we have some magnetic words. These words will help to slightly modify the phrase or the building block in order to convey your message. So the message flows from the speaker to the listener. And we have to have the executor or the subject, the action, and the complement. So magnetic words or expressions are there to modify the subject or the action or the complement. Usually, mostly the action will be modified. The building blocks. The sac or the building block could or could not be connected. And who will connect the building blocks? So it's a conjunction or the lexical signs of the sentence. So we have, in this example, we have two building blocks, and these two building blocks can be alone, can be connected, and it can be connected using lexical signs like a period, a comma, or exclamation mark, or it can be linked using a conjunction. So in the each element of the lexical approach will have the executor, which will usually be pronouns, words, clauses, adjectives, and adverbs, but it usually be pronouns. And then we have the action or the verbs, and then we have the prepositions if we have to have, and the receiver or the complement. That will be the pronouns, again, the words, some words, clauses, adjectives, adverbs. It will depend on the sentence. It depends on the phrase. But mostly we have to have a receiver, a thing that will receive the action. And we may have the conjunction to link or not to link the two building blocks together. Okay, an example of that. An example is this. You said is a phrase. You said her that her meaning changed before she left the building. So we know that depending on how stressed the words are, we can have a different pronunciation and we can have a different interpretation of the word, of the phrase. So here we have the building blocks or the sacs, two sacs together linked by a conjunction before, and inside one complement we have a sack, or another building block, our meaning changes. Okay, so the same phrase we have here, exactly the same phrase, then we have a different pronunciations or the different emphasis that we put on words. These words will mean different things. For example, if I follow this volume or the speech of the words, so I can say, you said to her that our meaning changed before she left the building. So I put emphasis on this phrase, and this emphasis can mean something. And we have exactly the same phrase here, but with the different pronunciation. In this case, we'll have, you said to her that our meaning changed before she left the building. So in this case, I emphasize different words from the first example. So in this case, I mean something else. I emphasize the verbs, and in this case, it's the action that is at stake. Okay, so the subject in the building block. So usually we use personal pronouns. The list of a singular person pronouns is I, you, and a third person pronouns in single form he, she, or it. They're all together because they usually they make we have to put a sound of S, not just a letter S, but a sound of S in the verbs that we have to conjugate all together. Okay, and then we have the plural list of the pronouns. We, you, they. So we have the first, second, third in the singular form, and the first, second, and third in the plural form. And as a complement, usually we have object pronouns. For example, me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. They are pretty tied with the the first list of a person pronouns here. And then we have the actions, the proportion of the actions, more or less 1,000 of the actions. The verbs are regular verbs that composes 90% of the universe of verbs. We have 184 irregular verbs, more or less 10% of the verbs. The regular verbs, the first case, this is the most common verbs. In the present simple, we have just infinitive form of the verb. In the past simple, by the other hand, we have the infinitive form of the verb with the suffix ed. This is a regular verb. It's a characteristic of the regular verb. And the characteristic of an irregular verb, so since there are not too many regular verbs, so we can have the present simple different or equal to the past simple. That will be different or equal to the past participle of the verb. So for God's sake, is not too many irregular verbs. The irregular verbs are much more older, and we don't change that too much.